The visuals you just saw on your screen were that of Capt Sabharwal, an elderly man, well over 80 years old, weak, barely able to hold himself together, bidding an emotional goodbye to his son. He is the father of Captain Sumeet Sabharwal. Captain Sabharwal was one of the two pilots of the ill-fated Air India flight AI171. The flight, which was on its way to London Gatwick, crashed seconds after takeoff in Ahmedabad on the 12th of June 2025. A total of 260 people were killed in one of the most horrific plane crashes in aviation history. It's been 3 months since these scary visuals came to light. Now, the news cycle has very well moved on. In the initial weeks, there was a lot of debate, discussion on what could have gone wrong. We too had gotten you two credible voices from the aviation industry. One was Captain Mohan Ranganathan and the other was Captain Sam Thomas, to just help us decipher as to what could have caused the crash. Then, one fine day at 1 a.m., there's a preliminary report on this crash that comes out. It only gave more questions than answers. Experts say it was selective in the information that it gave. In a nutshell, that preliminary report had said that the crash took place as both engines lost thrust after their fuel control switches moved from run to cut off just a few seconds after liftoff. No cause for the switch movement was given. Now, some read this as a pilot error and some read it as a mechanical fault. But in this video, we want to take you through the families and some of their stories that are now coming out. The loss, of course, is irreparable. 3 months on, they're still mourning the loss of their loved one, trying to come to terms with what has happened. Captain Sabharwal's elderly father, Pushkaraj, is one of them. Another story that has come to light is from the state of Gujarat. The BJP is being slammed for disowning their own leader. Remember, former Gujarat Chief Minister Vijay Rupani too died in this air crash. A new report says that the BJP has refused to pay the bills of Rupani's funeral and sent it to the grieving family. That's the second story. And the third story is of the sole survivor of that fatal crash, who is scarred and terrified of taking a flight ever again. Hello and welcome, I'm Shubham Chauhan. Let's get started. So let's start with Captain Sumeet Sabharwal's father. Capt Sabharwal has written to the government urging them to order a formal, thorough probe into the Air India crash. The story was first reported by Neha L.M. Tripathi of the Hindustan Times this morning. As per the report, Pushkaraj alleged that selective leaks from the preliminary probe have unfairly tarnished his son's reputation. Remember, much has been said and written about Captain Sumeet Sabharwal, particularly after the preliminary report came out. The report had mentioned about a conversation between the two pilots that the authorities were able to recover from the cockpit voice recorder. The report said that one pilot asked the other as to why did he move the fuel switches to the off position. To this, the other pilot responded that he had not. Now, here, the preliminary report did not mention names as to who said to whom. But the same report also gave us some clarity as to which pilot was doing what inside the cockpit. And it later turned out that it was co-pilot Clive Kundar. He was the one who asked the question to Captain Sumeet Sabharwal. Since then, there's been a lot of talks around Captain Sumeet Sabharwal. Much has been written about it too, that he was in a troubled state of mind, that he was having problems in his personal life, etc., etc., etc. Captain Sabharwal's father said that despite whatever had happened in his son's personal life, none of it ever affected his professional career. The letter said, the reasons attributed in such reporting suggest that as Captain Sabharwal was divorced, it had caused him anxiety and depression. It even ignores the fact that Captain Sabharwal was divorced about 15 years ago. The other speculation relating to the cause for Captain Sabharwal being desirous of committing suicide has been his mother's death. His mother died more than 3 years ago. After that, Captain Sabharwal had operated more than 100 flights without any incident or accident. Captain Sabharwal's father said that this endless speculation has damaged his son's reputation as it has casted aspersions on the pilot himself. And this speculation around his son's health has also adversely affected the father's health. In fact, he went on to claim, that is, Captain Sabharwal's father went on to claim that the data/reading from the cockpit voice recorder was selectively released into the public domain. And it was this that fueled the whole suspicion about his son's motives. Slamming the preliminary report, Captain Sabharwal's father said, The preliminary report, on the contrary, does not allude to what happened or the bare facts of the crash, instead resorting to insinuations on the one hand and offering copious clean sheets to the manufacturers on the other. The report in its present form is deficient, diversionary and discrepant. Pushkaraj Sabharwal has two demands from the government that he has made in his letter. First, the government should issue a clarification that the aim of the preliminary probe wasn't to ascertain any blame. And second, an independent investigation panel must be set up to probe this air crash. Now, this panel, Captain Sabharwal's father has suggested that this panel must have a retired Supreme Court judge, aeronautical and engineering experts, and a representative of Air India's pilot body or his nominee. The panel, Captain Sabharwal's father said, should look at all aspects of the crash and not just the conduct of the pilot. Now, at the time of shooting this video, no one from the government, including the Civil Aviation Ministry, have officially commented on the letter. As for the final report into the Air India crash, it is expected that the report might come out later this year. Now let's look at another disturbing story, that of Vijay Rupani. 68-year-old Rupani, who is the former Chief Minister of Gujarat, was one of the passengers on this flight AI171. He was on his way to London to meet and spend time with his family. 4 days after the crash, Vijay Rupani's last rites were performed with a guard of honor in Rajkot. That is June 16th. A 6-kilometer long funeral procession was held in the presence of lakhs of people in Rajkot. Top BJP leaders, including Prime Minister Narendra Modi, Home Minister Amit Shah, Gujarat Chief Minister Bhupendra Patel, all of them were present, and they paid their tributes to late Vijay Rupani. A new report reveals that the BJP has refused to pay for Rupani's funeral expense, and instead they have pushed this cost on to the family. A report by Jignesh Kotecha of Dainik Bhaskar says that a bill of 25 lakh rupees was pending, and days after the funeral, the ones who provided flowers, tents and other arrangements for the funeral went to Vijay Rupani's home and demanded payment from the family, from the Rupani family. The family eventually paid off the money, but was shocked to know about the BJP's attitude. That here was a man who dedicated his entire life to the party, and when he passes away, and that too in such a tragic fashion, this is what the party does. Just gives the family the funeral bill at a time when they are still not come to terms with the loss. A family friend of Vijay Rupani was quoted saying, "It's not about the money, but the BJP's attitude is deeply disturbing and callous. The party didn't even provide any prior notice." Now, why this was done, at whose behest, there's no clarity whatsoever. But one doubts as to whether we will ever get some clarity. But nonetheless, this report gives us a hint. It says that the decision to deny payment for Rupani's funeral from the party's end was driven by two powerful BJP leaders from Saurashtra. When State BJP President and Union Minister C.R. Patil was asked about this, he dodged the media. Eventually, he was quoted saying that, "I will definitely answer later." That is what he told the media, and then went away. As the story came out, the Congress slammed the BJP for their insensitive behavior. And lastly, let's look at 40-year-old Vishwas Kumar Ramesh, the man who miraculously survived this crash. Seated on 11A, British national Kumar was visiting his family in India with his 45-year-old brother Ajay. He was returning home to the UK when this crash happened. Seconds before the crash, Ramesh managed to get out of the plane. He's the only person who survived this crash. Eventually, he was hospitalized with impact injuries to his chest, eyes, and feet. His brother, however, unfortunately, died in the crash. The survivor recounted at the time as to how he had managed to sneak out in the nick of time. He saw people dying around him and just ran before somebody grabbed him and put him in an ambulance. Since his recovery, the survivor is still in India, going through therapy and counseling given the immense trauma. A report in the British media outlet The Sun says that Ramesh's family has said that he may never return to the UK as he is too scared to board a plane now. The report said Ramesh's wife Hiral and his 4-year-old son flew to India to help him recuperate. But they have since returned to Britain, and Ramesh is not likely to join them anytime soon. In fact, multiple foreign media outlets have reported, citing Ramesh's family members, detailing his struggle and how he is recovering. One of them was quoted saying that the lone survivor, Ramesh, still dreams that he's on a flight and he remembers seeing everyone die around him. As his counseling continues, his family says that the survivor is trying to lead a normal life here in India, but the scars of that horrific and deadly and unfortunate crash still remain. That's all we have for this report. Thanks for watching.